we are essentially, as I said before, past the point of no return, but now we're going to be involved in Syria, which is going to bring in Russia and China. Obviously, that's unsustainable. All of this is going to come collapsing at one time, is it not? I mean, is this what you see?
Well, yeah, it is collapsing at one time. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Look, here's the problem. If the churches have been warning about what's happening in the Middle East, now look, I have. There are others who have been. Some people on talk radio have focused on the Illuminati and Alex has had his focus. I've had mine. Hawk's had his. There are people that are on the radio for a long time, and I'm not just saying we're the only three guys. I'm just trying to make this quick. But the point is that it's fascinating to me is that, again, when I get that question you asked me from someone in the chat room, everything's normal. How in the universe, there we go, can they even make that statement with the fact that the nuclear emergency search teams are up, one faction of the government's trying to find them, the other faction of the government's trying to hide them, there's war in the heavens, there's war in our government, there's war in the military, there's war in the intelligence agencies, there's war in the church, there's war in the Catholic Church, there's war in the economy, there's war in the homes. Where can you go to be free from war? There's war on you even if you don't deny it, or if you don't acknowledge it. The people that just asked you that, what about the chemtrails? What about the water they're drinking? What about the food they're eating, okay? This is something really important. The Russians, and this is something that Hawks and Steve remind the people of this. The Russians are here, I'm reading what he wrote, are here now in Konos are doing great terror to soften up targets. If you don't know what great terror is, shut up and go learn what great terror is, and then you can address the subject. The number one goal is, sow fear, create agitation, and they're on time with one of the most likely attack windows in the Middle East. Notice the Middle East and what's going on here are simultaneous eruptions, threats, almost concurrently happening in real time. And then he says now that Russia and Red China have put up to 90,000 troops into Syria and have all their nuclear weapons in Tartus and Latakia, as well as the new Panzer missiles and super sunburns they brought into Syria. Let me talk about super sunburns. Nobody was even talking about those when Hawk and I were talking about them. Basically what that means, you guys, is every single nuclear aircraft carrier up until a certain point was ultimately vulnerable. The Iranian military plan for our aircraft carriers, and all 8 are out to sea, by the way, now, is to basically overwhelm them with sunburn missiles launched from high speed, and I want to share this, high speed, what most people would consider, Bahama racing boats, their version of them, and simply overwhelm with superior numbers. And like one general from Special Operations told me, he said, look, I can handle 100 missiles, I can handle 200 missiles, but I can't handle 3,000 missiles, okay? And that was 3 or 4 years ago he told me that. And guess what? The headline right now is, Iran states, we will conquer the world, and especially Israel, with our overwhelming missile superiority. They're not just empty boasters, okay? Now listen, they're all ready for all-out World War III. That's the title of the show. You know, it's funny, Doug, as prophetic as it is, so I would say this, no matter what I would speak about, and I'm not, look, it's just like when Jesus said, get thee behind me, Satan, he was serious. I could talk about anything, and immediately someone would rise up, and out of their personal or out of their demonically inspired, controlled catalyst, they would say, well, I don't think, or I don't believe, or blah, 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 everything's fine, okay? Yeah, everything's fine for them. Tell that to the people in Syria right now. Tell that to the people in Iraq. Tell that to the people in Chernobyl that still have children that are so deformed that they have to put them in institutions because it makes them vomit to look at their own kids. Oh, and by the way, did you see the news on Fukushima 4? The pool's dry. When Fukushima, the fact is that there should be massive requests from every, and here's the point, every reliable mainstream news media for the truth on Fukushima. There is no such thing. When the truth becomes known to the American people, when you know you're going to die and you're backed into a corner, you have no other choice but to lash out and fight. And the day is coming, Doug and Joe, and I believe we're talking a very near term, don't know when, but we're talking a absolute debacle that literally the scripture will be filled, even in the skeptics' ears, sudden destruction come on, like a travail comes upon a woman with child. The Spetsnaz here, they're turning up all their emplacements of nuclear weapons. And again, if you don't understand what Spetsnaz is, I will spell it. S-P-E-T-S-N-A-Z, okay? You know what their goal is? You can go look it up on Wikipedia. They are assassins. They are trained to blow up dams, bridges, oil refineries, chemical plants, military bases, and then the good news for all the traitors on the blue list, they get to go and tap you. Tap is a euphemism for assassinate you. The satellite launch from Canaveral last Friday of a new spy satellite, maybe the old one got shot down. And what about all of the, quote, meteors? Or what about the people that are reporting F-16 fighters taking on red fireballs? If it was just a meteor, would they take on with an F-16? I don't think so. That's literally today in the Midwest. So all these things are no longer just discontinuous. It's not like the old. Do you remember, you guys, the old magazines called True and Argosy?
Oh yes, I do.
True. Yeah, that was kind of like the official talk radio version in printed form. Okay.
Yep.
I can remember reading True and Argosy because it was about adventure, it was about giants, and it was about strange civilizations and blah 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 blah. Now all that stuff is coming into the forefront, and it's coming in so loud and clear, and it's like all the things that have been hidden or hidden away from people now are being brought out. And I mean, it's like I can tell the switch is turning on some now, but I'm just praying that it would turn on more. So, you know, we have to work while it's yet day. And if anybody hasn't seen the photo that's on my website, please go and look at the photo of the day. Never have I had such a positive response to the photo of the day. Did you see it, Doug?
I have not yet, Steve, no.
Have you seen it, Joe?
No, I have not.
Okay, would you guys at least do this at the break? Will you go look at it? What it is, it's probably the biggest storm that I've ever had to the west of me. It's taken off my deck in Montana. Yet there was a giant column of light, like a glorious, and I mean, when you see it, I don't think anybody's ever seen it like this, and I just photographed it off my deck with my 22-megapixel camera. And for the record, I don't know how to do Photoshop. I don't have Photoshop, so it's not Photoshop. But it's the most striking photo I think I've ever posted from response. Now, look, you need to understand that if you'll take a look at that, it will be the most encouraging thing. And this is the caption, okay? It's like a spotlight of God's glory shining through incredibly dark clouds. So please, ladies and gentlemen, go take a look at this because it'll be gone tomorrow. And I put through the caption, even though darkness descends upon the United States, Jesus is the light that shines through the darkness. He is the light of the world. And I felt like when I saw that, I said, Lord, listen, I'm a photographer. I was out today shooting aerial pictures, you guys. I shoot 500 to 700 pictures when I'm out shooting photos, okay? But I've never had a photograph like this in my entire life. And I thought, how cool is God? How amazingly redemptive, how spectacularly wonderful that a photo like that reminded me that it's going to get dark, Steve, but never forget who the light of the world is. So please, ladies and gentlemen, go and look at that photo. Whatever time it is in Montana, 8:54, 10:54 Eastern, but please look at that photo. I have never had the response, Doug, and that's why I want you guys to see it. If you want to see an example of one picture being worth more than 1,000 words, this is the picture to look at. Again, I feel it was a gift from the living God to show people, to remind them, sure, the storm's coming. Forgive me, the storm is here. But guess what? I'm beyond the storm. I'm in control of the storm, and I'm the light of the world. Everybody's in darkness. I'll tell you what, the Scripture promises when you got Jesus, it doesn't matter how dark it is, because Jesus isn't like the ever-ready bunny, okay? Jesus is like the light of the world, and He will not leave His people in darkness. That's why it's safe to trust Him. I tell you what, don't put your trust in man, me or any man. Put your trust in Jesus. He's the only one who can keep His end of the bargain up, even when we let Him down. And Doug, please go look at that.